Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the B Team podcast. As always, they are live on the Jackrabbit Illustrated Facebook and Twitter. We are also live on the FCS Fans Nation YouTube for the fans, by the fans. Beyond that, you can catch the show if you don't catch it live anywhere you get your favorite podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere in between. As always, the B Team is brought to you by our title sponsor, Kubota Dealers of South Dakota. If you need a tractor, utility vehicle, construction equipment, zero-turn motors, parts, service, and more, there's always a Kubota dealer near you with 8 locations across the great state of South Dakota. Stop in today and get yourself into some orange equipment. We would also like to take a moment to thank our segment sponsors, Culver's, Brookings and Watertown, Jackrabbit Central, and Cubby's Sports Bar and Grill. And now, B Team Mafia, the time's arrived. Here's Ben, Chad, and Brendan.
All right, folks, welcome back to the B Team. What's shaking, B Team Mafia? Thanks for joining us. And we are on time tonight. Huh? No comments about us being on time. Nobody says shit then. What is this? Yeah, we're on time on the button. And,
hey, kudos to Ben for showing up on time.
Yeah.
But as we learned last week, he's obviously the man because he just shows up and goes, and you and I sit here for half an hour and get our minds right.
Right. To be able to do that is seriously impressive. I have to sit and get in the right headspace. Ben says, since it's my birthday, it's the perfect show for the headphones. I will not fight that. I think it should be more than a one show punishment. So, because I'm going to try to do it more than once to you probably. So that's in your court.
So let's just talk about this for a second. It's you get
He's
even.
Afraid. That's what I'm hearing.
You
I'm
get
hearing
even. You don't go over the top. There's no reason to go over the top. You just get even. So,
really,
just cool your jets on your plans there.
I feel like someone's not feeling too good about his picks.
Well, I'm not. Didn't do great this week. We will recap those later. But yeah. No, we're not 2 minutes tardy. The intro starts at 8:00.
Yes.
Or 8:30.
Yes. So pay attention, please. Thank you.
And I am rocking new hotness for a computer setup. Not that anybody watching cares, but shout out to my boy Dakota Mayhem for helping me out. Stud hooked me up with computer stuff, and it's awesome. I got my 2 screens going. I actually got the Jack's game on the right side. You guys on the left side. My computer's not melting down. So I got a leg up on Alex, I guess.
I guess I got to refigure that and talk to him about that.
Yeah,
because this laptop of mine is not doing well.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this thing's sick. Oh, very funny. My wife says, "Oh, it's your birthday." Oh no, happy birthday! Yeah, she's been pouring it on all day. I'm very much it's just another day, dude, guy, and that's about it. So,
who takes the day off on their birthday?
She loves celebrating. So,
can we talk about this for a second?
With that trash showing from Lidke on the beer pong table on Saturday, it was a trash showing for me. If my name was Troy Fitzhugh, then I probably would consider that an average performance. He had a above and beyond performance that's not indicative of his normal success. So I understand him being excited.
He did have a really good partner, so he's got that. He has that going for him.
Yeah, he had one hop, one leg down there. Do I sound like I'm shouting? I feel like I'm shouting. Am I shouting?
No, it's not bad.
No, you just need a little sound cancellation in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm only going to be in here for so long because this is going to be the baby's room. So.
Hey.
You go.
Yeah.
So, any more to share on that? Or?
You're not going to continue to do it when the baby's in there, just like whisper.
Okay, guys.
You think Alexa was bad?
Thanks for joining us on another hour of Jackrabbit football.
I like it. All right. Well, let's get to the game that happened. It was Youngstown State. We talked about they're going to throw the kitchen sink at us. We talked about how we've had problems there in the past, and man, did we take care of business.
Wrong.
We
Wrong,
talked
wrong,
about
wrong.
how motivated the defense would be because Jimmy didn't list a defensive player of the week last week. And yeah, they were motivated. They played extremely well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, awesome game all around, especially for the defense, but even the offense. I mean, it was fun to watch a game plan. Where you go there? Jeez, it's this guy's birthday, and he thinks he can just cough right into the mic.
I muted him quick. I think he muted himself. Anyway.
Anyway, it was fun to watch a game where we clearly had a game plan to air out the ball a bit. We saw that. I think we clearly saw that they would sell out, stop the run, and that they have a better run defense and pass defense. And Mark did his thing. He balled out. Jaden Yankee balled out. Griffin Wilde balled out. Yeah, so that was fun to watch the passing offense, especially the just stepping on the throat right out of halftime. What were we up 20-0 at that time, I think, and just took a deep shot and did the little penguin dance in the end zone. Which I don't know. Some people are angry about it. My Uncle Dean's going to listen to this, and he was really angry about it. And I disagree. I think it was a fun thing. Like, it wasn't. I don't know. I mean, there have been celebrations before where I was like, "Geez, let's cool it," but it was just a fun little thing. I don't know. We talked about earlier. If you're okay with horns down, then you should be okay with the penguin dance. So
agreed.
Exactly. I think it probably stings more and stands out more because it's specifically about their mascot. So a little more personal there. I get it. If I was a Youngstown State fan, I'd probably be like, F these guys too. I get it. But if, as an SDSU fan, you love doing this baby all the time in NDSU fans' faces, and we all do, it's not really any different. It's just not. And it's okay. It's fine. And Jim Poppinson says, Davidson did the same thing when he scored versus Ohio State. So, yeah. I mean, and the thing at SIU, we all love that. The team just has an edge to it, man. And sometimes it's going to do things that make us more old school people feel a little uncomfortable with it.
Right. And I think it goes along with having a team with an edge and an attitude and a younger coach that is maybe going to embrace that kind of thing more than telling them to knock it off. Just because you hear the term players coach thrown around a lot, but I think Jimmy really is that. And I think that he really wants to, go with what the guys want. And he's clearly shown that, from even a penalty standpoint, that he said it in comments. He's like, hey, that's just how we play. And because of that, we're going to get some penalties because of it. And he's okay with it if it's, in the process of the game. And so I think he wants his team to have an edge and have an attitude and have that feeling that, yeah, we're in your face, we're better than you, we're gonna win, and we're gonna stomp on you, and we're gonna show you. That's just something that we haven't had before, but I think a Jimmy coached team is gonna have.
Yeah, with this year's team, it's not gonna kill the team, but we'll see in the future. But
right.
Needed that edge to get over the hump. I mean, this didn't start with Jimmy's team. This started last year's team. I mean, we talked about all year. Please, Yankee Scott, we're begging you, stop doing the bow and arrow on first downs. We've seen a 15-yarder for it before. They obviously aren't going to listen to us. We're just some schmucks behind a microphone. But, well, at least I'm a schmuck behind a microphone. I won't speak for you guys. But, it's just part of the team, part of their attitude. And there's a fine line between going overboard. Jimmy wasn't thrilled with the penalties this week. Are they controllable penalties, or are they blocking through the whistle? You're going to get a hold once in a while or a face mask because you're playing 100 miles an hour, that happens. It's just the whole deal there. I mean,
yeah, I mean, and there were some untimely penalties, especially early in that game, that kind of held us back. One resulted in a field goal. The other one, I think we overcame and scored a touchdown anyway, but put us in a bad, I think it was like first and goal from the 15. And so you just got to avoid that type of stuff. Hey, Brendan, your new keyboard
is really loud.
Really loud.
Is it loud?
Really loud.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's like you got to purposely one of the old school IBM PS2s.
I had a cheap Bluetooth one, so that is my bad. I will mute my mic next time I'm typing. Enhance.
Oh boy,
It doesn't work. You know,
I'm just trying to do ASMR stuff here, like Troy wanted.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
anyway.
The false starts are troubling. What's crazy to me is how many some of our best guys get. Like, why? You've been playing in this system for 6 years. You want to be in the NFL. Don't do this false starts, guys. Like, I don't know if it's a audio thing, not being able to hear something. I really don't know what it is with the way we do the clap, but
yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway, it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, Jackson Yankee was out, and Marcus Preston was out. Hopefully, those aren't too long-term of injuries. Obviously, we showed that we've got some depth, and we're okay. Wow, yeah. Skip past that comment.
Whoops. I haven't seen that website in a really long time. The name, so I forgot what it was. I'm so sorry.
Coward.
I thought he had a
enhance
picture
what I
of him.
want.
I thought he had a picture of himself he was trying to enhance. I don't know.
Anyway, yeah, back to what I was saying. Jackson Yankee, hopefully that injury is short term, but it's a little concerning because he's a huge player for us. And when both Yankees are on the field, really hard to stop. Yeah, but overall, I mean, you can't be too angry about a game where they scored 0 points and we scored 34. Alex says, Jimmy said, Jackson Yankee will be back this week in his post-game presser. Well, that's good to hear, which is awesome, especially with senior day coming up, which if you haven't bought a ticket for this game yet, number one, try to get one. Number two, if you do want to go, find a season ticket holder if you're not one, because I think some season ticket holders got a couple tickets that they can give to a friend. And outside of that, there was also an offer where you can buy tickets for $10. So plenty of ways to get to this game. Plus the veterans, the veterans I think can get up to 4 tickets for free. So yeah, definitely get to this game, honor those seniors. I mean, obviously we'll have more home games in the playoffs. But it's the game that and it's military appreciation, honor the military. So yeah. And the other thing is it's a late season game that looks like the weather is going to be pretty nice.
Yeah. It's going to be like 58 degrees or something to kick off.
Yeah.
I can't imagine if you don't have anything else, you absolutely have to, and you're a big time SDSU fan, you got no excuse not to come to this game. Let's finish out the season and sell out the Dana again, man. These guys deserve it. And look, we're probably going back if we play our cards right. Let's do this right.
Right. Alex says Bleacher Bum 23 is the public code available now for $10 tickets. So
all caps.
Yep. All caps for Bleacher Bum 23. Yeah, definitely get tickets to that. Any final thoughts on the Youngstown State game?
Yes.
The other one I was going to mention is Dustman looked good, except for on that. I didn't really see what happened on that 47-yarder, which, I mean, the distance isn't usually a concern for him. Yeah, I don't know if was it into the wind. I couldn't really tell.
A crosswind that pushed it, but
interesting. But other than that, he looked really good. Yeah, you said you had some other comments on it?
Yeah, just with Mark. There's been certain people, Kyler, who I'm kidding. I think Kyler annoys me because he's like the way I would be if I was an Eastern Washington fan. He reminds me too much of myself. He's a good dude. This game, I'm not saying that Mark had to carry the team or anything like that, but this game does not go as smoothly if we don't have a not just effective but very effective passing game. And I mean, he spread the ball out to like 10 or 12 different receivers. The run game really opened up after we started gashing them through the air. I think the first 3 or 4 touchdowns were all passing touchdowns, which normally we don't. It's not necessarily we had to this game, but that was more the game plan because of the way Youngstown's defense plays. And I mean, he did an incredible job of, he was on the button all day.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a lot of fun to watch, getting him to be able to air it out a little bit, get the receivers some love, a lot of receivers involved, tight ends involved. So that's all I wanted to shout out, because on this next game, Dev and Ryan are probably going to be mad at me when I talk about this next game, but that's okay. If they're not mad at me, then we have close games like Southern Illinois, so it's okay.
Deb did make sure to show you that Ryan was not giving you crap about picking against SDSU.
It was so great.
That was awesome.
Ryan, you give me a hard time whenever you want, man. I can take it.
Especially if SDSU's winning.
Winning.
Yeah.
Especially when it's whooping like 34-0.
Yeah. And the other thing is just, God, this defense is so good.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. They're giving up 10 points per game in the conference or something, and something absurd like that.
Yeah. And I mean, it's been talked about a lot, but just the depth that we have is insane. Just the line changes that they run in and out, keeping guys fresh. And I mean, I thought our defensive line was deep already, and then we had guys making sacks in that game that I didn't even know were on our team, honestly. There were guys that haven't played a lot of downs that were getting in there and getting in the backfield. So, it was huge. And our defense is just, they say defense wins championships, and this defense could carry us to a championship. Even without, our offense is very, very good. This defense could take a not as good offense and still win a ton of games. It's that good, and it's that well coached, and it's that deep. So it's just so fun to watch.
And they're so good against the pass. For the last couple years, it feels like a lot of times people would say, well, they're good against the run, but they're kind of sketchy against the pass. They're giving up 166 pass yards a game. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
It's incredible. Joe Christian says they better work on defending hurry up offenses. I don't. I guess I don't know.
I mean, that's when YSU had some of their success.
But I think
I'm running that. But
yeah, and he's talking about that dink and dunk stuff they were starting to do. But that's also part of Jimmy's game plan too. Mm-hmm. Is that he's not going to let you get over the top, and they did almost get over the top on a 2 or 3 throws, and I think he wanted to make sure that did not happen. And you're going to give up some of that underneath stuff, but you got to be okay with that, especially when you're up. And it takes a lot of time to run an offense like that, especially with the clock changes now. And so it's you'd like to see them get a 3 and out every time, but if you're not giving up big plays for touchdowns, it's fine if they get a few first downs.
And once they get to the red zone, that opportunity goes away, because now that deep threat's gone. You can close in tight on them.
Exactly.
They gave up 180 yards passing or something this last game. I don't think the defense did anything. Not saying they're infallible and there aren't things that they need to work on and want to work on. I'm saying that Youngstown State was taking what was there for them, especially when you're up like we were and they're trying to pass down the field to score. Our defense is not going to be focused on the flats. They're going to be focused on not giving up a quick touchdown. And that's what happened there.
Yeah. And I feel like Jimmy's his early days as a defensive coordinator, he did that a lot. And we got very, very frustrated by it. I feel like he's evolved to have a combination where he is bend, don't break, but he also does it while getting some pressure. Whereas early in his days, I feel like he didn't bring as much pressure as he does now. And so I think, he's in a good spot.
But do you think that was a function of constraints put on him potentially
Maybe
early in his career?
It's hard to say.
Yeah, that's a whole argument of development versus constraints and all that. I don't know. Yes and no. That's probably an argument for another day.
Right.
Yes and no. Way to be totally committal on that.
I'm very committed. I'm very committed on that one. And you guys all know I'm so wishy-washy on everything. So
how's some picks turning out this week, boys?
So should we go ahead and review those picks?
Well, you pull that up. I want to say thanks to Kubota, our title sponsor, Kubota Dealers of South Dakota, for helping us out. I know I'm going to check them out for some implements. I don't know if they're going to fit on my lawn tractor, but I'm going to give them a whirl about a plow and all that jazz because the snow's about to be coming, folks. So if you need snow blowers or plows or anything like that, tractor to handle excessive snow because it's supposed to be a snowy winter, give Kubota a call. Check them out. They got great equipment.
Nine spots around the state of South Dakota to fill your needs.
9 times.
And is it right? Like you can, they have like some crazy financing stuff too, don't they?
They do have financing right now. Just
crazy 0% stuff.
0% type stuff. Yeah.
Which I don't know if you've checked interest rates lately, but they're pretty high.
Are they high?
So, they're high.
You can get CDs that give you 6% for 3 months or 5 months.
Welcome into the B Team Financial Podcast.
Now we're getting into what I really like to talk about. Money.
We'll be discussing CDs and APRs today.
So I did not do very well. However,
all that extra help from Dan Furman, and I still I beat you all. Bring on the world at this point.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. I might have to fade Dan Furman from now on. No, I was right along board with him. So it started out with Elon and Richmond. Richmond beat them 38-24, covered the spread. I believed in Elon, and they let me down. Indiana State took care of Western Illinois 27-6. Illinois State beat Murray State 44-7. They're trying to convince the committee that they still deserve to be in the playoffs. Don't know that that's going to work though. Missouri State whooped UNI, which is just kind of crazy. UNI had been looking really good.
You mean crazy? It's UNI. They do this.
No, but
do this every year.
I know, but
the sloth when you need them.
You'd think they'd learn at some point. As a UNI fan, I would be furious. Like to see this happen over and over and over again. It would just be so frustrating to watch. Now UNI, we'll talk about playoff scenarios later. USD barely beat UND 14-10, but they did cover the spread. That's the one that hurt me. I needed UND in that one. They were winning until late in the game, and then it's just insane how good Tommy Schuster can look and how bad he can look. Like it feels like against us he always looks really, really good, and against USD he just looked pedestrian.
Against anyone, if you take their 3 games against teams with a pulse, aka playoff teams, since they won against NDSU, they have scored 24 points. Between SDSU, UNI, and USD, they have scored 24 points total as a team, as an offense, I should say, not as a team, because They only scored, you look at that score and you're like, hey, they kept it kind of close. No, not really. Their offense scored 3 points. And let's be honest, in the SDSU game, there was some garbage time points scored there. Garage time. You're right. Yes, garage time. I gotta say the appropriate nomenclature, So I'm gonna go with that. There's my $5 word for the year. I'll say it how I want, Chad.
All right. You do you, boo-boo.
Ron says you and I needs to get rid of Farley. Maybe. I mean,
there's so much wrong down in you.
Who are they going to pay, though?
Yeah, and that's
come up with more money.
Be careful what you wish for, too. I mean, you could end up like Nebraska and firing Pelini, and then now you're in no man's land.
Well, their athletic department's just a mess. I mean, they got wrestling gyms getting condemned and wrestling team wrestling in storage facilities. And I don't know, firing. Farley, I think, has actually done an incredible job with the issues they're facing.
Yeah, Dustin says here, USD may have the second best defense after SDSU. Their offense just does enough to win. Maybe that gets them to Frisco. Maybe. I mean, they do.
Depends on if they get that huge favorable bracket.
It's possible. I mean, they do have a really good defense. Their offense just seems to, I don't know, like you said, just does enough. I don't know. It looks like they have potential, but then they kind of shoot themselves in the foot sometimes. And I don't know that once they play against some other good teams, I don't know that's going to work for them. But we shall see. The other games we got is NDSU took care of Southern Illinois, 34-10, covered easy. And then obviously SDSU won 34-0. Covered easy. I went 3-4. Brennan went 5-2. Computer went 5-2. Overall, I'm 40-47. Brendan is 46-41. Computer is 46-32. So I'm 6 picks behind.
I feel pretty good about that being ahead. Not ahead of you, but being over 500. I feel pretty good about that.
It is really good considering we have to pick every single game.
Gonna break my hand, pat myself on the back, but you know what? After the Unikitty headphones, I'm gonna pat my back all I want. See if I crumble in the playoffs like I did last year, because last year I was dominating you in the regular season too.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I will tell you, we're picking. We might be picking a dozen games this Wednesday.
A dozen?
Yeah.
How are you gonna do that?
What are you trying? This is going to work out awesome or terribly for you.
It's not because I need to come back. It's because
no, never. No, definitely not.
It's because there are that many intriguing games that matter to the playoff picture. And so they're fun to talk about and analyze and pick so I can come back.
That is an excellent cover story.
Dustin, the computer is doing well, but it didn't have to pick early season games. So Brendan actually has come back a long ways from his early season record, because we were not doing very good.
Computer got the advantage of being a computer by starting late, because they're never well connected and they always struggle early in the year. You know this, Dustin. Get out of here, Rev. You know that. He knows better.
He's just being contrarian.
He's just being a pain in the ass because that's his favorite thing to do.
Dustin, we are going to pick Central Arkansas and Austin P. Jim, it may cut into my JI segment. That's possible. Kendall says, then if you lose, will they make you weave a Brendan Kitty Ears fat head?
That's a punishment for me, not for Ben.
Wear a Brendan Kitty Ears fat head? Yeah, that sounds. I might just print a Brendan Kitty Ears fat head tonight and have it for the game this weekend.
That would be awesome.
That's a great idea.
Oh, Kendall.
And I even sit.
Get to you in time.
I even sit in the front row on the second level. They would probably be able to see that. All right.
Kendall,
note to self:
we're not friends anymore.
Check.
Why did you do? Why? I'm a nice guy, and now I'm a. Matt's was cheeky and fun. This is evil shenanigans, right?
Rev's catching a flight. Got to see, or he's going to pay attention to see how to fade Ben. Yes, that is the new name of the segment. Yeah. All right. Anyway, so that's the picks for this week. Chad, do you have a top 25?
Sure do. Just give me a hot second here.
I think we're going to peek at the stats.
But it's the
25?
stat one, and so it's kind of, it's not going to be a nice graphic like, the OGFFN is.
So we decided on the stats poll for everybody, not because we love the stats poll or even love the result it puts out. However, this is what the committee is going to look at. So this is what we're going to go off of for the ranking for this last week when we're able to talk about what the seeds might end up being and yada, yada.
Correct. So they've got obviously SDSU at number 1, Furman at 2, Montana at 3, Montana State at 4, and USD at 5. Outside of that, for Missouri Valley teams, we've got NDSU at 9. We have UND at 13, Southern Illinois at 16, and UNI at 22. And I believe that rounds Youngstown State snuck in there at 25, still hanging on. So that's what we got for Valley teams that are ranked. Do you have the Valley standings up by chance, Chad? Valley standings, you got SDSU at top 7-0, USD at 6-1, UNI at 5-2, which UNI is in a weird spot. They're third place in the Valley. However, if they lose this week, they will be 6-5, and they will not make the playoffs. And so they may end up, third place or tied for third place in the Valley and not be in the playoffs, which is just a weird spot for them. But they didn't have a good enough out of conference. Then you got 4 teams tied at 4 and 3. You got NDSU, Illinois State, UND, and Youngstown State. And then you've got Southern Illinois and Missouri State at 3 and 4 in the conference, Murray State and Indiana State at 1-6, and Western Illinois at 0 and 7. Should just shut down the program at this point.
NAIA.
Wait, Darren said, "Don't worry, Brennan. Ben's still got a bum leg. No way he's going to haul a fat head around." I will be walking on Saturday. So
and he's got children who would carry it.
You and Aaron Rodgers,
no problem. I think the boys would get a kick out of carrying that in the stadium.
Oh yeah, so that's true.
I'm going to tell the security not to let you get away with that.
They didn't have a problem with bringing the Matt Fathead in.
Watch it, no. And they took a sign away from an NDSU fan who was right next to me. That was a totally innocuous sign. It was about FFN. It was about FCS Fans Nation. They took it away from
What did it say?
I have no idea. But it was innocuous. Talking to the guy, I'm sure it wasn't insulting or anything, but he was really excited to meet Matt and stuff there. Crazy.
Yeah.
So
I'll just tell him it's a fat head of a player. And they'll be fine.
It's a former player, so that works.
The Fathead Wars.
Yeah.
We'll look
at from here, I think we should talk about potential playoff scenarios. We're going to talk about the games in the Valley that will matter this week, but we won't pick them and analyze them because we'll be doing that on Wednesday night. What'd you bring up here, Chad? Top 8 seeds. Potential seeds at the end today.
Well, that's the kill. That's the kicker. If they end,
it's tough.
I know this is not
somewhat of a basis.
It is.
I don't even know how much attention I want to give this. If you want a seed scenario, go watch the FCS Fans Nation podcast from Sunday night. They did a mock playoff pick special, and
actually I have it pulled up.
Yeah, if you got that pulled up,
I could share it. I actually
screenshotted it.
Yeah, I did. There it is. So that is what their potential would look like. Honestly, the seed wise here, I agree
good.
with how that might end up. And they had Montana State beating Montana in the brawl, so that's going to be important. You could see, like, if Montana State loses, I could see then Montana probably is the 3. Montana State might drop to like a 6. But the rest of this, I could see holding fairly well. 8 seed, I lean towards Idaho, but I could see him throwing in an Austin P or somebody if they win out, just for funsies.
For those that can't see the graphic,
right?
They have, and this is so the FCS Fans Nation guys went through and predicted the games that it will occur next week. And so it's dependent on those predictions being correct. But they've got SDSU at number 1, and then Furman at 2, Montana State at 3, USD at 4, Montana at 5, Albany at 6, Delaware at 7, and Idaho at 8.
Right.
Sorry, what were you going to
say? Joe Christensen has a good question here. Assuming USD wins this week, will they be ranked top 4 since one of those Montana teams will lose? We got to remember ranking and the committee are 2 different things. Does the committee mirror rankings? To a degree, yes, but it's not the same. You're not just going to look at your top 25 and rip down it and go, all right, there we are. There's how it's playing out. But I definitely can see USD getting the 4 seed especially if Montana State loses, because they've only got 1 FCS loss. No matter how you feel about what their record is and how they would stack up against the rest of the top 4 or 5 teams in the country, 1 FCS loss, bunch of ranked wins. Montana State would have 3 FCS losses at that point, and it's not going to be a point of once you get to 3 losses, I don't think it matters. You're going to go with the team if they're in similar conferences, which I think power-wise, the Missouri Valley and the Big Sky are viewed similarly. So you're going to put the team with 1 loss over the team with 3. That just is the way it is. Montana State kind of shot themselves in the foot by losing to Idaho. I've said all year, I think Montana State is going to be the SDSU Jackrabbits of 2021. They're going to end up on the road when they probably shouldn't. I think we all here probably believe they're the number 2 team in the country, but their resume doesn't say it because they've dropped games they shouldn't. Just is what it is. So, and they had a tough schedule that caused them to drop one of those games. So I think Darren Amick said, want to avoid that Missouri Valley Invitational that's set up.
Aaron
said, I'd prefer avoiding the Missouri Valley Invitational tournament they have set up on the west side of the bracket. This west side of the bracket is going to look similar to this. There will be a Montana school.
Flip-flop in the bottom 2, though. I mean, potentially. They could get away with that, right?
You could get away with it, but especially if you take out our disdain for USD, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't.
Right.
I mean,
they're too good of a team to be ranked below 5 for sure. So they're probably 4 or higher.
Well, if you compare Montana's resume and USD's, especially in this scenario, where they lose to Montana State. So then Montana's got 2 losses, one of them to a bad to mediocre Northern Arizona, and then a loss to Montana State, which, okay, let's say the loss to Montana State and the loss to SDSU cancel each other out. You're still lost with a bad loss for Montana and no bad losses for USD. You just don't have the argument there.
Yeah, I mean, all that's, I think USD, as long as they win, I think they're guaranteed a top 4 seed. Whether they end up 2, 3, or 4, that's up to the committee, but 4 would be the worst case for them. They could get a 3. I think it's less likely they go 2. I think the 2 either goes to Furman or potentially, if Montana wins, maybe Montana. It'll be interesting to see if they give Furman the 2. It'll really show how much they value strength of schedule. And, you can argue the strength of schedule ranking all you want, but it is what it is. I think Alex says here, keep in mind the committee doesn't handpick seeds. It's ranked choice voting amongst members, not with the team up for seed consideration, which also should mean that Haslam and Larson don't vote on seeds.
You can say that all you want.
Sure.
Raise your hand after last year and after listening to Haslam's interview with Sam Herder, if you trust the committee to actually act like adults and do this the way they say they're doing it. Raise your hand real quick. Thank you. Nobody raise their hands if you're listening, because I'm sorry, I have no faith in the committee. When Haslam was on an interview a year later after the tomfoolery of UND and everything happening, where UND bid higher than Weber, which was like an understood tenet of the playoffs. If you're the first round games, highest bid gets the game unless your facilities are a joke. And then he comes on, well, we just thought Weber deserved a home game, so we gave it to him because they were kind of our ninth team. And then he doesn't say yeah, maybe we shouldn't have done that, or maybe we should have been more clear. He goes on to say, we've done that a couple times.
Yeah.
What? And then you feed everybody this load of horse shit that we do our ranked choice voting. Yeah, shut up. Tell me you aren't talking to each other. Because I look at this, and this is the way the bracket, I think, ends up. Even if Montana State loses, do you think they're going to really drop Montana State to 6 and have a 3 and 5? Montana at 3 and Montana State at 5, so they match up in the quarters? I don't see them allowing that to happen.
Well, they wouldn't in that scenario.
They would have done it to us back in the day, but whatever.
Right. That's what I meant. 3 and 6. Sorry. So they're going to have Montana State at the 5. I'm just telling people, be ready. SDSU, USD, and one of the Montana schools are all going to be on this side of the bracket, and possibly Idaho.
Yeah, it is very possible. I mean, it's very possible that we end up. I mean, it's almost more than possible. It's probable that we end up with a more difficult side of the bracket than the other side. And a lot of that's due to geography. And some of it's due to just wanting to, I don't know. I don't know if they'll want to give us a difficult path, but we were talking today about what the most difficult path that they could give us would be. And I think there was consensus that it would be feeding Southern Illinois to us through.
No, there was not consensus. I never agreed to any of this.
Well, you come up with a harder one than this. My scenario, my worst case scenario for SDSU, feeding Southern Illinois to us in the first round, putting NDSU at an 8 seed, and then putting
second round,
and then putting Montana State and USD at 4 and 5. And then Montana would be on the other side and potentially in Frisco. That's my opinion. What would be the hardest path for SDSU? What is your opinion?
UNI instead of Southern Illinois, by far, because that game scares me more. Because if you look at Southern Illinois, and this isn't talking down to Southern Illinois or anything, that was your chance if you're Southern Illinois, where it was close. I don't see this team seeing a team come in that was close to them on the road, getting them at home in the playoffs when they're in playoff mode. I don't see that working out as another close game for Southern Illinois. I think that ends up being an SDSU team that wants to prove a point. So I will address this. That is the dumbest. Just stop. But funny how the Grizz jump up to 2. Well, they don't have 2 losses, so if they win, they have 1 loss. That's right. This isn't calculus. Come on, let's be smarter. And
it just clarifies how good the top of the Big Sky is, actually, if that happens.
Right.
Otherwise, they're all kind of the same.
Right. And I don't know what he means Montana State jumping up to. I think if Montana State loses, they realistically should be a 6, 7, or 8. And if they win, they're a 3. So that's a pretty good jump. Anyways, my point I was getting at is a Northern Iowa that had a game with a bunch of turnover snowball on them concerns me more. And they've won in Brookings in the playoffs in the past. So anyways, I'm done talking.
But
I've talked too much.
Alex makes a good point that if UNI wins, Bison wouldn't be the 8th seed then.
Correct. You
So-
wanted me to pick my hardest route. That's the hardest route.
Okay, well, if UNI gets fed to us, then who's the 8th seed that would be the hardest route?
Idaho.
Okay.
Would you? I mean, who? Honestly, I would rather face NDSU again. Not that I'm not confident about playing Idaho, but I mean, who would you rather face? Very predictable NDSU team who runs offensive scheme that we are built to block and stop, or an Idaho team we've never played, never seen their schemes before, and knows every one of our players personally and their weaknesses and strengths, who's actually a top 10 team up until recently. So go ahead and you tell me which one's a harder matchup.
I love trickeration.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think it would be NDSU. I think NDSU knows us better than Idaho, even with
Jason
at Idaho. Yes. I think I
disagree.
Knows us better
That's
in terms of knows how to beat us. Like, not knows us personally. Obviously, Eck knows us personally better. But I think NDSU knows the blueprint more of how to beat us. They played us more. Their coaches are used to us. Their players are used to us. Idaho would not be used to the environment they'd be going into. NDSU would. That's my point.
I don't know. I mean,
and I think like you were talking about with UNI, the turnovers really screwed NDSU in their game. If you look back at that game without those turnovers, that would have been a lot closer game. And I think that, yes, they've had their issues, but I think they have the tools to beat us. If Cam Miller plays a really good game, he can beat us. If he plays like he did in the second half against SIU, they can beat us. Whereas I just don't think Idaho has what it takes to beat us in Brookings, whereas I think NDSU does.
I don't know. I mean, especially when you say, knows us from a familiarity of going against them standpoint. I mean, Jason Eck's been going against Jimmy Rogers' defense for 4 years or so in practice every day.
I know.
And when it comes, I mean, if you want to talk about environment, I mean, they played at Wagriz and stuff like that. So I don't think the Dana would intimidate them in any way, or the weather would be a huge factor. It's not like it's cold. No, then again, I thought that about Montana State, and apparently snowstorms scare them. So I don't know.
Anyway,
our fans couldn't get here.
Let's move on to the big matchups in the Valley that really determine who's going to make it to the playoffs in the Valley. In my opinion, we get 5 in minimum, 7 maximum. Do you agree with that?
I would agree with the 5 max, 4 minimum.
I said 5 minimum, 7 max.
Oh, no, we will not get 7. Absolutely not.
No,
I'm saying maximum.
We should not.
Yeah, I don't think it's a maximum.
No, I don't think there's any way we get 7. There's no.
You don't think there's a way we get 6?
Maybe 6.
Maybe.
I could be talked into 6. I mean, that's going to depend on how things turn out, but I think it'll probably be more of the 5-6 range than 5 to 7, with North Carolina Central winning or losing, getting thrown in the mix. I could still see the committee being stupid enough to put Incarnate Word in, and that would be outrageous to me.
That would
that's 2 stolen teams right there. There's 2 stolen bids right there.
Yeah.
My
point is that we would have 7 teams, quote unquote, eligible and worthy of consideration. Okay. And if things played out right, where the right teams lost, like 7 would be the absolute max that we would get in. And in my opinion, I think 5 is the minimum. If things went crazy, maybe only 4, but I think 5 is much more likely. 6 is a possibility. So obviously SDSU, I mean, I think we could lose this game and still get the 1 seed. If not the 2 seed at the worst case. Just our resume is that good right now, even if we would not show up for the game on Saturday. USD, like we talked about, I mean, they play Western Illinois, and they're going to win that game, and they're going to get
if they lose, though.
Oh my God, that'd be
so fun.
After the way that Western Illinois looked this year, man, and they would lose a seed. They should lose a seed if they lost to Western Illinois.
They should. They'd probably drop to a 7-8.
Right.
But that would be the height of comedy.
All they have to do is
Yeah.
show up, snap the ball a few times. They're going to win.
Y-Town only thinks 5 max for MVFC, only shot at 6 as a random upsets. I kind of disagree with that. But so USD obviously is a 2, 3, or 4 seed with a win against Western Illinois. So you got 2 there. There's a couple that – so Southern Illinois plays Indiana State.
Yep.
They win, they're in. If they lose, they're probably out.
And they could lose. Indiana State's pulled some stuff on people.
Agreed. They have Austin P and FBS Northern Illinois as good wins. They really don't have any bad losses except getting whooped by Youngstown State. But
they didn't look good at NDSU, and I don't know if that's a good loss, losing by that much to them.
That's true. Yeah, you're not wrong there.
It probably won't be viewed as a bad loss, but
right.
I don't know if it should be viewed as a good loss either.
Yeah, I agree with you. Then go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and then you've got Youngstown State. If they beat Murray State, which they should, then they'll be on the bubble. If they lose, they're definitely out. They have that win I just mentioned against Southern Illinois. That's really their only good win, and then they also really don't have any bad losses. So I think they'll have an argument. I just think they're a team that's probably going to need a little help to get in. So we've got SDSU, USD, and Southern Illinois likely, and that's 3. Youngstown State is maybe, so that's 3 or 4. And then you've got the game between NDSU and Northern Iowa. NDSU wins and they're in. If they lose, they're probably on the bubble. I think they're in, but it's not a guarantee. I don't think.
With their name, it's a guarantee. They're at 7 wins.
With their name, but not.
Tell me one single scenario where you see NDSU sitting at home with a 7-4 record.
Just if the committee was looked at it on a year-by-year basis, which they've proven that they don't do that. But if you look at their resume, like what is their argument for getting in?
Good losses?
Well, Central Arkansas wins next weekend. I believe they'll win the YAC.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'd have a win over a conference champion plus a top 15 win against Southern Illinois. And, I mean, it's better than Youngstown's resume. It's better than a lot of middling resumes that are out there hanging on to one good win.
That's true. Yeah, and they did just beat Southern Illinois, who was a ranked team. So you're probably right. They would probably be in if they lost. But in that scenario, UNI, if they beat NDSU, they're probably in. And if they lose, they're out. They've got Youngstown State and UND as good wins. If they beat NDSU, they'd be another good win. However, they've got that bad loss to Weber on there and this most recent bad loss to Missouri State. And so do you agree that if they beat NDSU, they're in?
I think they're in. I think if you're a Youngstown fan specifically, and you want to make sure that Youngstown State gets in, you are a big Illinois State fan this weekend and a big NDSU fan this weekend. Because if UND and UNI are knocked out and lose this next weekend, they're both out. And I think Youngstown's in for sure.
Right. So NDSU wins, they're in. UNI wins, they might both be in. So if UNI wins, we're looking at 5 in for sure, we think. Maybe 6 with YSU in the bubble. But like you said, if UNI wins, they might be taking Youngstown State's potential spot. So probably looking at 5 so far. And then lastly, we've got a big game between UND and Illinois State. UND plays Youngstown State, right? No, who do they play?
UND, Illinois State.
Okay, yeah, I was right the first time. I just had it written down wrong here. So UND wins and they're in. They lose and they're out, in my opinion. They've got that win against NDSU, but outside of that, they really don't have a good win. But they also don't really have any bad losses. Whereas Illinois State, they beat UND. I don't think that they're in. They really don't have, UND would be their best win. And they've got a bad loss to Eastern Illinois on there. So if Illinois State wins, I don't think they're in, and they would knock UND out. And that would, like you said, potentially open up a spot for Youngstown State. So yeah, I think we're looking at 4 for sure, possibly 5. After looking at it, probably a maximum of 6. 7's a very, very outside shot. But the scenario for 7 would be that SDSU, USD, SIU, Youngstown State, UNI, NDSU, and UND all get in. That would be the 7.
I hate
It's very unlikely. I wouldn't like it. I think it would be an overkill.
And honestly, unless you're one of those really fringe teams, you should not want that. Do you want a playoff bracket where half of these slots are on this side, half of these slots are Valley teams?
Right?
Is that what you want? That's what you want to go back through the conference season again? I don't. It's stupid. And I get the argument that it's the best 24 teams. No, it's not. It's not. There wouldn't be auto bids for conferences if that was the case. And if you've got a problem with auto bids, and we've talked about it before, you've got a problem with auto bids to the big dance as well. That's an NCAA rule across all sports. That's why you get the bid to the NCAA tournament. So maybe leave that alone. But I don't want that personally. It's supposed to be a national tournament.
The cream will rise to the top regardless.
And you know what? If you're that fringe of a team, and I know it sucks if you're Youngstown State, this would be 2 years in a row if you're left home. That would suck so bad to get left out at 7 wins again. But you got to win some big games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, we realized that how many years ago where we got to the point where it was like, all right, that's enough complaining about not getting a seed or whatever. Let's win the extra games we need to get this done. And that felt like when the big turn in the program was made.
Yeah, I mean, they've got that 3-point loss to USD and 3-point loss to UNI. You win one of those, and you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, this weekend doesn't matter.
Right. I mean, it does because you still got to win. But,
it does, but yeah, you're right.
So yeah, I mean, they just had too many tight games this year, and we're on the wrong side of too many of them. Yeah. So do you have any more playoff scenarios?
I mean, God, there's gobs of them. Sam Herder's got
outside I'm talking inside the Valley.
No, I think you listed every team that could has a shot at it and is going to have a shot at 7 wins. I have a feeling that at least 2 of those teams are going to lose next weekend and cost themselves a chance at the playoff, because it just always happens that way. There's always chaos. I mean, across the country, when you get home from the Jacks game, I think they're mostly early games, so we're going to miss a lot of them. But if you can catch a bunch of these games, because there's going to be a lot of them that they'll decide stuff for the playoffs, and it'll be a full fun day. If you live out of state, can't make the game, ESPN Plus, your remote should be on fire, because there's going to be so many games that matter, which is so great compared to the stupid FBS setup where there's 6 teams-ish that matter anymore, right, for the playoff.
Yeah, like you talk about teams that could lose this weekend and knock themselves out of playoff potential. Southern Illinois, I think, is one that is on watch because, like you said, Indiana State has shown that they can be feisty. They can put up a good game.
They are without their quarterback, though, right?
Indiana State?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I couldn't
I don't
tell
remember.
You. Haven't been following them close enough. But how far of a fall would that be for Southern Illinois from the week that they were playing us?
Mm-hmm.
I think they were in the top 5 at that point? I think they were 4th or 5th seeded or ranked. They only lose to us by 7, but then they go on to beat West Illinois and then lose to USD by 7 and then lose to NDSU by a bunch. To fall all the way out with a loss to Indiana State would be very rough for Southern Illinois. And Stone Labanowitz would weep.
I mean, they had a meltdown last year too.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what their deal is with that. They're worse than you and I with falling apart.
Right. Yeah, the Revs said the same thing. It'd be similar to what they did last year.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about how we think Nick Hill's a good coach, but maybe this is why he hasn't moved up yet.
Right.
So now that we're not talking about that, let's talk about this Missouri State game a little bit.
Oh, right. Yeah, we got to do that.
Yeah.
I was like, man, we barely made it to an hour. We like buttoned her up right on time. No, you didn't.
No, you did not.
So Missouri State coming into town for senior day, like we said, get the tickets, all caps, Bleacher Bum 23. Go to the ticket website, put the promo code in, and you'll be able to find the tickets there for the game this Saturday against Missouri State. And it's a Missouri State team that just beat UNI, who had been playing well. They beat them 35-16. The previous week, they only lost to Illinois State by 1. Before that, they lost to Youngstown State by 16. They did lose to NDSU by 28. They lost to Southern Illinois by 13. So they've kind of been all over the board this year. They only beat Murray State by 4. So it's hard to tell where you're going to get from this Missouri State team. They've been up and down. But I think just based on last week's result, I mean, they were out of playoff contention last week, and they still had some fight in them. And so, I don't think this is a team that we can overlook. Having said that, it's a team that we should be able to handle fairly easily. And it's a game where I really, really hope that we can get some guys out early because I don't even want to mention it, but we haven't had a whole lot of issues with injuries this year. And
you mentioned
we don't need to have that.
Why are you the way you are?
In a game that doesn't necessarily matter because, like we said, we could probably lose it and still get a top 2 seed. But anyway,
everyone blame Ben if something happens. This is his fault. Oh my God!
I'm just saying.
We don't talk about Bruno, Ben.
God, you don't talk about a no-hitter until the game's over. What the hell is wrong with you?
Jim Poppins says Angel will have a day. I could see that happening. I think the guys last night talked about how Amar didn't get too many carries, and he might be banged up. I don't know how sure we are on that.
Nobody does.
And so if he is banged up, I can see Angel getting a lot of carries because I'm sure we're going to want to limit Isaiah's carries. Randy Jacobs says they give up over 400 yards per game. Yeah, they've given up a lot of points this year. I don't know what their average is offhand, but if you look at their games, there's some pretty high point totals there. So I don't know that we'll have problems scoring on them. Seth Meyer says we've had injuries. We're just so deep it's hard to notice sometimes. You're not wrong there. Injuries on this team are definitely not as big as for some. Ron Lowney says rest the starters. No, we're not going to do that. We know we're going to have a bye the following week. We don't need our starters sitting for 2 games and getting rusty. You see it. NFL teams do that where like they know that their last game of the year in the regular season doesn't matter. They'll sit starters and then they might even have a bye and then they come out all rusty. That we've seen it a lot. And so I don't want us to do that, and I don't see Jimmy doing that, honestly.
Yeah. But I don't see this team having a down game, per se. I just don't see it happening with this. Not with this team, not at the end of the year. They want sole possession of the conference title. They want to ensure that number 1 seed. There's a lot of dudes who this is senior day for. I think they're going to come out guns blazing. I will say, this is where Deb might get irritated with me. Mark one of his greatest attributes is when it's a big game, he plays a big game. Right? Mark plays such a big game when it's a big game, and he's so clutch, and that's what makes Mark, and it's awesome. On the other side of that coin, and I'm not saying he plays poorly, but he is not on that same level sometimes when the opponent or the game is not a huge game. He'll be a little off on his passes. Deep throws are a little deep, things like that. I'm not saying that he's going to throw 6 interceptions and be terrible and throw for 40 yards. I'm just saying I don't think we'll win. We might not win by as much, or we're going to get a huge amount of yards on the ground. Might start a little slow in the passing game, I think. Just something that I've noticed over the last couple of years. And I'm not saying he plays bad those games or anything like that. I'm just saying it's not quite as sharp. And we've made that comment to each other in the stands before. I know we have, where it's like, oh, not quite. He's not locked in yet. And, I could see that happening in the first quarter. Something like that where we're not quite locked in, or not necessarily. Yeah, we're not quite locked in, but I think this team's going to take care of business on this game. Yes, the defense will have to play, and they're not going to be able to just roll their helmets out on the field to win. That's absolutely not.
No.
I think it's a great thing that Missouri State beat Illinois or UNI last week. That's a good warning sign to our team to take these guys serious. So that's just my 2 cents on that game.
Yeah, like Chris Howard says here, we ain't sharing. If USD would win and we would lose, technically we would be sharing the conference championship. We would have the head-to-head over them, obviously, so we would win it. But we've had that with NDSU before, and we've damn sure claimed that shared conference championship. So
right.
I'm sure this team does not want to do that.
And they've just been so locked in all year. It's hard to believe that they're going to come out and not be.
Yeah. And that's huge kudos to Jimmy. He's had him focused. That's why I think he should win Coach of the Year, even with the team that he's had. I think that it's not easy to come in as a first-year coach and do what he's done. You're number one. You're getting everybody's best shot. I don't know, after NDSU's coaches have left and their coaches have picked up, I don't know if they've won Coach of the Year or not, but I don't know. He's got my vote. He's kept him focused all year, and I don't see that stopping anytime soon.
Hey, remember that mantra that we heard all offseason and early season is, how's SDSU going to do with the target on their back as number one?
Mm-hmm.
How are they going to do handling that? Haven't heard that for a while. Let's where'd that go? What happened? It's all loud up in here. Now it's quiet as a mother-loving church. I stopped myself. I almost Samuel L. Jackson. They've done so good at handling the expectations and the best shot from everybody so well. I mean, your closest game was the Montana State game, obviously. In my opinion, as an SDSU fan, came out flat in the first half and then got it together second half. And then your next closest game is what? The Southern Illinois game that looked close but wasn't? Oh, people said it, Kevin. There was a lot. That was Sam Herder said it on his podcast. How are they going to handle the expectations? That's the real question. To be fair, they're saying that's the only real question about them.
Right.
Our good friend Matt Frazee, how are they going to handle expectations being the number one seed? Set up in Fargo Media, SDSU, are they going to be able to handle being the number one team now? Because NDSU showed they can do it, but can this SDSU team do it? I don't know. It was not. This is not a made-up narrative. That was something that was absolutely said beforehand. I don't know. I might have. I don't remember exactly if I heard it, but I don't think I heard it on your show. But I might have. I'm not going to go back and check.
It was fair at the time when we started.
It wasn't like an unfair thing to ask or anything. I just like thumbing my nose at it now that they've absolutely taken care of business. And Joe Christensen makes a good point. Now they have so many 6-year seniors. They have 10. So in theory, with COVID, we could lose 10 players from this team. That's not a lot of guys.
No, it's not. The cupboard won't be bare, that's for sure. But still got plenty of this year left. Brian talks here about committee stacking the side of the bracket that we're on. The other side getting a cakewalk to Frisco. It's possible. It's possible that USD has to hope to God they get the 3 seed because
if USD gets the 3 seed, that is, if they get to be on that side of the bracket, that is such a gift for them.
100%.
It would be interesting to calculate the overall average strength of schedule on the left versus the right in that potential bracket. See where that ends up.
I don't know if you're on Twitter today. Kevin and I just argued about that for I had some time to burn. We had an argument. It was a lot of fun.
No.
I love arguing with Kevin because he's like us old forum posters, and he follows the golden rule. If you're going to talk smack, you better be smiling while you bring it. So that was a lot of fun going back and forth with him today a little bit on strength of schedule.
Before we go too far, thank you to Culver's of Brookings and Watertown for sponsoring us. Go get your Curder Burger. I'm pretty sure they still have that. Go burgle some curds. Get your rings. Get your butter burgers. Thank you to Culver's of Brookings and Watertown.
Also, thank you to Cubbies. We went past that. I may have purposely not mentioned it because Rev said something about us skipping a sponsor. So just out of spite, I didn't.
Actually, I think we did mention it.
But
we mentioned Kubota beforehand, but we didn't mention Cubbies when we were going over the bracket.
I thought they sponsor our pick segment, which is on Wednesday night.
They do, but they sponsor on here as well.
They do? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Absolutely. Well, I'll talk about Cubbies all the time because Cubbies is the best spot to go in Brookings. I'm looking forward to going there the next time in Brookings and getting some of their good food. They actually they keep posting these amazing food items that they have. It was like a turkey stuffing ciabatta sandwich or something. So go get that from Cubbies. Yes, thank you to Cubbies. Last but not least, thank you to Jackrabbit Central, the number one spot for Jackrabbit apparel. There will be another opportunity for Touchdown Tuesday after the game this weekend. And if it goes the way that we think it will, you'll be able to get potentially 25% off next Tuesday. And if you have Jackrabbit Club, it can stack on top. So thank you to Jackrabbit Central. Go check out their stuff. It's always good.
Yes, absolutely.
What is Kevin saying about 9 teams?
He's talking about how there's 9 teams in the SoCon, so it makes it a tougher strength of schedule, which I assume also transfers to the Patriot League, Kevin, because they play everybody as well, which obviously makes them a superior opponent. And in fact, they have less than 9 teams, so it must be even more difficult because they play each other even more. And on that note, also the Pioneer League, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No, Pioneer League team has too many. But on that note, so is the NEC. So, they're obviously just as strong as the Southland because they only have 9 or 10 teams.
I got a question. If we played Western Illinois, would we be a better team then?
Yes.
Okay,
according to the SoCon Homer bias sheet, if we would have played Western Illinois instead of having to play USD or MSU or Youngstown,
the guy doesn't even think brisket's barbecue. You can't take anything serious.
Can you imagine how difficult our conference would be if NDSU, USD, and UND were all not in it? It would be so hard. If we had to play Western Illinois, Murray State, and Indiana State.
What a dogfight every year for the conference championship.
It would be so hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're just punching at him when he can't really respond.
He can respond.
He's fuming. He's like, you mother.
Sorry, Kevin. We love you.
We love you. Yeah.
Speaking
of Kevin, hey, they had the expose on the Efton. Now I can't remember. Efton Chisholm. Is that his last name? The quarterback for Yeah, and they raised a bunch of money in the Alex's Lemonade stand for him. So now he's catching up to Brian Williams. And so I would ask that our people that feel so inclined to donate towards, kids fighting against kids cancer, go check out FCS Nation Radio, and go up to the right-hand corner in their website and click on the Alex Lemonade stand. Donate to Brian Williams. I know we got 3 guys on there, but he's our lead guy, so we're going to push our main horse and give a couple bucks if you feel so inclined and help our guy win.
Yes.
Jim says Chisholm now has 1280 and Brian Williams has 1781. So let's keep that going. Austin asks here, we've spent a lot of time talking about the Fans Nation bracket. He's wondering what their past track record is on picking this thing. I guess I won't read the rest of that. Even so, somewhat close.
Sorry.
Anyways.
I will say I think their seeds are close. Part of the problem, and I love those guys. I love that show. I really love their bracket special. It's not necessarily super close. And it's really hard to get super close because you have to pick games that haven't happened yet. There's not really any time on Sunday after the games have happened for them to do that show. So, especially when those guys are going to their team's games, things like that.
I would love it if they just stayed up until like 2 a.m. Saturday night and did it. But
I know a guy who's
who would
going to
be on a podcast that late?
Who would be on a podcast at 2 a.m? The bigger question are, who are the animals watching us at 2 a.m? You guys are sickos. True. I love it. You guys are why we do this. I love you guys who do that. You guys are studs.
I mean, I love SDSU football, and I'm not watching it at 2 a.m.
Not at 2 a.m. I might watch it the next day.
Hey, man, it's fun.
It's just too late for my old ass.
Yeah. Garrett Meyer says he's ready to go for a bracket show that night.
Oh, we got to bring out Zach McKinnell for that broadcast. That would be sick.
That'd be great.
That would be sick. Zach, have your people
Saturday night
my people will contact your people with Borg, and then we'll.
But when's he gonna talk?
Playoff special. How fun would that? Yeah, Borg does like to talk a little bit.
It would. Yeah, that would be a blast having Zach on. And even if you could get what's his name? Is it Grooms from the Fans Nation? Grooms.
Jason Grooms.
Yeah, because he's a huge bracket guy, and I'm sure he'll be up late updating his bracket. So you should get him on too, and you can do your own little late night bracket show.
That would be fun. I bet that'd be super popular. People wake up in the morning to watch it. Here we are, just not actually doing our show anymore. We're planning other shows with the audience. That's what makes the B Team special. We're more fan based because we get input.
Yeah, we're bringing in. Speaking of fan based, if you've made it this far, and what?
I don't love the suggestions about what should be done to me there. And speaking of Kevin Marshall,
what are you talking about?
Shut up. It's not important. What? I don't love the suggestions people had for me in AI.
Oh, well, they can suggest whatever they want as long as they're creating it themselves. What I was looking for is fan-created AI artwork in the categories that we that we give on Scared Money Don't Make Money, which is title slides, previous opponent, upcoming opponent, and any JI guys or FCS media guys. So if you do want to be featured on that show, send them to me through message on Facebook or on Twitter. And we'll shout you out on the show.
Alex, you are unhinged for wanting to do a 10-person mock playoff committee, and I couldn't do that. I can't do it. I just lose my mind.
Well, and it would take
people trying.
It would take so long. Like it would.
Oh, it would be like a 6-hour show.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Like it would go from. It would go from midnight until when the selection happened.
You finish your bracket just right as the bracket show starts.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, what happened to the Wives show? Maybe a bye week. Maybe we'll work on that during the bye week or the off season. I don't know.
You gotta talk to the wives about that.
Another mom. I agree. We need to try to get another mom on for the Mothers I'd Like to Hear From segment.
We're working on it.
Zach's looking for a 10-person mock committee from Saturday night 11 to Sunday at 2. He'll buy some energy drinks. I like it. I love the commitment.
People think I'm squirrely now. Have me do an all-nighter.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny in this case.
Alex just wants to be on the committee.
He just wants to be able to say
He wants to be the chair.
All right. Well, we've got an hour and 20. We will see you guys on Wednesday night. As Jim says, as we always say, go big, go blue, go Jacks.
Go Jacks.